Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to East Vineland, New Jersey, Farming Simulator 22. We are on Kubota Farm. I am just, no pun intended, wrapping up this wrapped bale load here. Oh, we've got some things to talk about, don't we? I'm recording this Wednesday. Patch 1.8.1 was just released today. Where are we dropping this off? That's behind me, isn't it? We have to go to the farm shop north, up yonder, over there. So I need to turn around and go this way with this beautiful green Kloss tractor. I don't know if you'll see this in the recording or not. I think you will. I've got the FPS counter up there in the upper right-hand corner. I'll get rid of it here shortly, but I'm dealing with some small bits of frustration at the moment with Farming Simulator. Not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna share it with you. You console players can just sit back, relax, laugh, and have a good time with this one, because I highly doubt this impacted you or does impact you whatsoever. At least I don't think it does. Hey, piggies. Oh, look at that stutter. Look at that beautiful stutter I've got going on here. Inside cab is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Now here's the thing. I love this game. I do. And I'll cheer for Giants all day. But I'm getting to the point where this shader cache business and building shader cache and all this nonsense is reaching a frustration level for me. Now, the number one thing they have listed in patch.1.8.1, which is platinum ready with an exclamation point, right? Performance improvements. I almost hit that pole. I can't read and drive at the same time. Performance improvements. That's number one. Let me fill you in on how my experience has been preparing for recording here tonight. So, knowing that the game... Here, we might as well turn that counter off. That might be annoying some of you. Knowing that the game is getting updated, and I go through this same thing, whether the game gets updated or whether my drivers get updated for my GPU, my graphics card. Doesn't really matter. Both of those are two things that require rebuilding shader cache. This is literally the only game I think I've ever played where I think this is where I sell, isn't it? I hope this is where I sell. I think this is... I can't remember... Let's put it this way. I can't remember another game that I've ever played where you have to go into the game after a driver update, whether, you know, your graphics card gets updated or... And yeah, you console players are going to love this because you don't have to deal with any of this nonsense. You get a patch to the game or you get a graphics card driver update. You have to go into Farming Simulator if you're on a PC, and for a good 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes actually this time around, and it's still not good, by the way, it's still not right. I walked around the map. I flew around the map. I drove around the map. I went into oh, this is important too, by the way. You tab between vehicles, right? So you do your vehicle switching. You got to do that with every single one of them. Make sure you go inside and outside of the vehicle. Look around the vehicle up and down like this number. You got to do this. You got to do all this like this. to rebuild shader cache. Now, I'm no expert on the whole shader cache business. I've done some reading up on it. And to my minimal knowledge, and I'll guarantee it's minimal, it's basically a way, it's a stored file that the graphics card uses in conjunction with the game engine to quickly retrieve shaders in a faster way than having to rebuild them or build them every time, right? So it's much higher performance level that way. Now, before the update today, and since my last graphics card driver update, my shader cache file size was about 125 meg. All right, that's about, from what I've seen at least with this game, fairly average. Right now, I think it's about 20 meg. And it'll build up over time. It'll build up over time with different maps too, because each map that you load, you have to do this with every map. They get better because maps share, you know, different. There's a word I'm looking for, and I know I'm gonna forget it, but it's basically, you know, they share different things, like they share the same buildings and water towers and grass textures. You get the idea, you know. So you're not fully rebuilding, or you're not starting from scratch necessarily with rebuilding your shader cache with every map you launch. But there's always inevitably going to be some things that, well, aren't there, right? This time seemed particularly bad, and I don't know what's going on, but it was, well, to be blunt, it was flat out unplayable, like unplayable, until I spent about a half an hour running around the map, and it's still, I can tell, is kind of struggling on occasion. And this is not low-end hardware, all right? And I'm not saying that to tout, you know, ooh, I've got, you know, this thing and that thing. I'm not about that. I'm just about the fact that I'm wondering what people do that don't have decent hardware, and you know, and it's really starting to make me wonder what this is all about. I have to do some more research because I'm trying. See, that it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the only thing I can think of is it's whatever this game engine Giants has been developing and working on, but they have got to do something about this. And I say that not excuse me. I say that not just for me in a, you know, in a selfish way. I'm saying that for the community, because if I just bought this game and even when it was initially released, you know, version 1. Whatever that came out initially, and I'm loading this game and I'm going into it and it's behaving the way it does before you get that shader cache built, I'm thinking this might be the worst game I've ever played in my life. That's first impressions. And that's sad, because this is a really good game. And it's become, at least in the PC community, and I went out to the forums today to do some digging around on this too, and there's a lot of chatter about this whole shader cache business. Now, you know, part of it, and I try to be as fair as I can, but for some reason this time around it was just really frustrating to me, and I apologize. You all don't tune into me to listen to, you know, negative and listen to me complain and whatever. And I apologize, but it is frustrating. It is extremely frustrating. And I don't get it. I really don't. I really don't get it. I don't understand why it has to be that way. Now, I'm going to have to go into Old Family Farm because I'm going to be recording Throwback Thursday. And I'm going to be spending probably another 15, 20 minutes on Old Family Farm, driving around, walking around, doing my thing to try to smooth that map out before I can record. I'd do it anyways before I'd play. So, recording's inconsequential. I'd have to do it regardless. And you'll hear like, oh, the more you play on the map, the more it'll smooth out. I understand that. And I also understand, like today, I saw DJ Goham's video. I got a notice that 1.8.1 came out. It's kind of a surprise, right? I mean, it's kind of a surprise patch. At least I don't think anybody was necessarily expecting it. And he even said, well, the game's probably going to be stuttery when you first get into it, so you're going to have to, just drive around the map. It's like, what? Why is this acceptable? Why is this acceptable? I don't understand why it's acceptable. I think I know why it's acceptable, because those of us who put up with it like the game too much. We enjoy the game too much. We want to play the game. What choice do we have other than to drive around and fly around and I mean, I'll give you a little taste of what I did. It's crazy. You console players, you just enjoy this moment. And, that's another thing. I don't have anything against console players, obviously. I mean, I've got a console. My kids have a console. I'll tell you, and it's times like this when I'm ready to buy a copy of Farm Sim for the console and do a switch. And like I said, I do apologize. I don't mean to bring in all kinds of negativity and stuff into this, and I know that y'all have better things to do than listen to some guy complain, but I just had to. I feel like I can talk to y'all and tell you what I'm thinking, good or bad. And to me, it's become comical. And if I didn't care, I wouldn't care. If I didn't care much for the game, I'd just set it down and leave. This would have been it, honestly. If I'm being completely honest with you, I would have just set it down and said, nah, it's all good. There's other things I can play. Games that are, that run smooth, that I don't have to go into, okay, even games that aren't even as developed as this one. I played a few hours on Farmer's Life, that Russian farmer dude that's got a pretty tough time of it. I've got some episodes on my channel here. It's a kind of fun game. But when I launched that game, I didn't have to go running around the map, loading shader cache and worrying about whether the game was going to be clunky or not. Now, arguably, you could say, well, this game is a lot prettier than Farmer's Life, and you would not get any arguments. You would definitely not get any arguments from me on that. This is a much prettier game. Oh, look at that. We completed that baling contract. Holy smokers, we're going to have some money here. We are going to make some cash money, as they say. Because we've got quite a few bales still back yonder. I don't know why I'm talking with all the southern, the old school words here. My folks, well, one of my folks, my mom was from Kentucky, and so I guess maybe I did pick up some of that, y'all back yonder, theater. It wasn't theater, it was theater. Make sure you get that A in there. And I honestly, oh, hello, Mr. Deer. I honestly want to show some more in cab and stuff, but it's just been so uncomfortable to play in cab for stutter reasons that I don't want to put you all through that. It's just a shame, but maybe we'll just stay outside of the cab for this game, for this episode as much as we can, and maybe I'll get some more driving around in cab, spend another couple hours. That's the other sad thing too, is you can't just go and pick any tractor. You have to do all the tractors. Well, at least one of each brand, because they all use different assets. That's the word I was looking for. Assets. Game assets. You know, so you go inside of a Kloss tractor and you look around and you get the stutters out, but then you got to go and you got to get a John Deere tractor and go inside that tractor and look around, you know. You can't just do it for one brand because it doesn't fix the problem. So I don't know what performance improvements they claim they made. I would honestly like to ask them what specifically they're referring to, because I felt like this was the worst I'd seen. And I'm just being honest. As far as stutter goes, as far as having to rebuild graphic stuff, this is probably the worst I've seen since launch. But it is what it is, right? Hopefully I'll get her smoothed out for us and we can enjoy it a bit more without the clunkiness. Let's see what else they have listed here. I know I can't read and drive, but this one I thought was interesting. Improved AI drive to behavior. So, you know, when you go in and you tell the helper to go drive to this location, they say they improved that. I don't know if I'm going to check that on East Vineland, because I got to tell you, I've tried using that a couple times on East Vineland, and it's unusable. It really is. The AI helper is magnetically drawn to those electric poles, those electricity poles over there. They love those things, and I was just constantly having to get the AI helper unstuck from hitting those poles. It was bad. The other thing I noticed, and I don't know if y'all notice this too, but a lot of times I gotta check and see if this has been improved. But when you hire an AI helper to drive to a location, every place where there might be a turn, like here in these, see over there on the left hand side there into that cell point right there, they'll like slow way down and kind of partially turn until they figure out that that's not the turn they need, and then they'll speed up and go to the next one, and they'll slow way down and kind of think about turning there, even partially kind of turn there. So yeah, not so good, not so good. But they say they've improved the drive-to feature, so maybe I'll give that a whirl and see if that's any better. What else do we have here? We've got various crash fixes. Okay. Well, I'll be honest. I've not had much issues with crashing. And actually, I've been pretty fortunate compared to some other people that I've heard from. As far as game crashes go, I've been pretty fortunate on that. Now, typically, it's a mod conflict that I run into if I've got something seriously hampering the game that badly. It's been a mod conflict. Now, whether or not it's a mod conflict because Giants has changed something, and therefore, because last patch or the patch before, there was a nastiness with some of the scripting mods that really caused some headaches for some PC players, that because of a fix that Giants made, and then a bunch of the modders had to come up with some updates for theirs. It says that they fixed large save games on Xbox. Didn't know that was a problem. You Xbox players out there, were you having issues with save games that were of large file size, I'm assuming? Do they mean file size, or are they talking about like games that have a lot of things going on in them, like if you've got a lot of equipment and stuff like that, but I'm not entirely sure. But that's one thing I totally forgot about, and I remember dealing with slots. When I initially started playing this game on a Xbox 360, slots. Oh, what a pain in the neck. And every time I hear people going, yep, there's a mod out for all, for all platforms, and it takes up, 8 slots, and it just reminds me of how much I really did not like that whole slot thing. And that is one thing that's kind of nice that we don't have to deal with on the PC. However, I think that it's the same concept though, where you do suffer graphically if you overload your map on a PC. We just don't have the slot restriction, but you can still have the same type of an issue. And it looks like they fixed some specific things with different vehicles. I know they added that. Oh, what they add that new brand? That fertilizer. What is that? HELM. And it looks like they added support, extra support for Intel Aorus graphics cards. That's interesting. And I think we have mentioned it. Is that all the bales then? I think that's all the bales. And I think we're going to make some decent money off these little guys here. Let's just go sell them all and get this straight out of the way. Let me get this thing roadworthy here. So Intel is making quite a push to get into the graphics business, I see. I think, honestly, I think it's great. Just competition is always a good thing with computer stuff. Probably a good thing with everything, but certainly with computers and graphics and CPUs. I mean, think about a world where AMD didn't exist. Think about the prices and quite frankly, less innovation that we'd be seeing, and vice versa. If Intel wasn't here and AMD was the only runner. Oh, sorry. Oh, that thing must not have a collision on it, because I would have taken that sign out. I think I would have taken that sign out. So competition's good in my opinion in that way, and so fine, if Intel wants to make a run at some graphic stuff, that's cool. Right now they're not there's certainly no threat to NVIDIA or AMD for that matter. Maybe someday they will be. Maybe someday they'll creep into the higher end and the gaming stuff and whatnot. But right now, they're just not there. And that's not just hardware. Their drivers aren't doing the greatest from what I understand. So all that stuff needs to mature and get better, which I'm sure it will. Intel's no small company, and it sounds like they're legitimately wanting to make a run at it. So it'll be really curious in the next few years to see if Intel eventually does come out with a legitimate gaming threat for graphics cards. I think that would be great, because I tell you, based on what we're witnessing here with NVIDIA, we're going to need some solid competition if we're wanting to keep the prices down a bit, because typically, you get the bump up, you get the bump up in Sorry, I'm just kind of paying attention to our money. I like watching our money go up. About $130,000. That's not too shabby. I really don't want to kill this this bail contract quite yet. You gonna fold up for me, please? Oh, sorry, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that. But usually, what you usually get is an increase in performance and technology, either for a similar amount of money, and oftentimes even a little less sometimes. But NVIDIA has decided that everybody should be okay with their 4000 series graphics cards costing, what, 20% more than the 3000 series when it was released. And I guess we're all supposed to say thank you very much. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to. There is no way. I mean, I wish I could, if I'm being honest. I wish I could say yes, thank you very much. I'd love to see a nice shiny 4090 sitting in my mailbox and ready to go into my PC, but it's crazy money. I was talking to a buddy of mine today, in fact, texting back and forth, and he's an IT guy as well. We used to work together. We both kind of went different ways as far as jobs go, but he's given up on the gaming PC. He bought a PS5 and he called it quits on the gaming PC side. He just said it just wasn't worth it anymore to him for all the money that you got to dump into it, and to keep upgrading and keep up with playing AAA titles at the highest resolutions and whatnot. Getting into 4K gaming, he said no, it just wasn't for him anymore. He couldn't justify it. He'd rather get a $400, $500 PC for doing what you want to do on the computer, for surfing the web and whatnot, and then he bought a PS5, and that's what he's gonna game on. You can do 4K HDR. You got to probably already have at least a decent TV, if not a 4K TV. Seems like it's pretty much out there. Most people, I shouldn't say most people, but a lot of people have 4K TVs now. And for what's the PS5 go for? Is it like $500? $600? You can't even buy a graphics card for a PC for that anymore if you're wanting to play higher end. So anyways, I do apologize once again. Sorry, this was probably kind of a Debbie Downer. That was, by the way, a great skit on SNL. If you haven't ever seen Debbie Downer, it's pretty hilarious. But I'm glad we did get this contract knocked out. Now, if we do close this contract, we do lose all of our equipment here that we could use for this one. So I think what we'll do is just think about if we want to hit this next baling contract or not. We're not going to lose it, so we can just let this equipment sit here. It's not hurting us. I'm sure these people love seeing seeing this stuff in their backyard. And we made some decent money today at that. So, hey, everyone, thanks again for joining me here on Kubota Farms. And I promise, any bad mood I'm in over this patch will be done and buried when we move on to Old Family Farm tonight. So please join me tonight for Old Family Farm on Throwback Thursday. And again, of course, Friday I'll be back here on East Vineland. Yeah, and hopefully I will have smoothed out our gameplay experience a tad, so that's a little bit nicer for y'all too. So, but hey, thanks everyone. You all take care of yourselves, and most importantly, let's take care of each other. And I will see you back real soon. Take care now.